Welcome everyone to this Student and Support Network webinar for the University of California Education Abroad Program, or UCEAP. This webinar is being recorded and will be available on the UCEAP website next week. This presentation is intended for summer, fall, and academic year program participants and their support networks, including immediate family, extended relatives, friends, and any other individual a student considers a support person. We hope that through this webinar, you'll better understand UCEAP. We'll introduce you to the tools we have in place to provide guidance, reduce health and safety risks, and provide the highest value and greatest impact for UCEAP program participants on their academic journey. Our UCEAP leadership team, listed on this slide, will present a variety of topics designed to help foster meaningful communication between UCEAP participants and their support networks. Throughout the webinar, please use the Q&A feature, as there will be a live 15-minute question and answer session after our presentation. Staff members from these teams will be active in the Q&A, answering your questions throughout this webinar. Thank you for your attention and attendance today. You may have heard of the laws we are about to mention, but we just wanted to highlight them because of how they can shape the exchange of information between you and the university. At UCEAP, we deeply value and are committed to protecting the privacy and confidentiality of our students. Doing so is a legal requirement under U.S. federal laws, such as the Family Educational Rights and Privacy Act, otherwise known as FERPA, as well as under California law, such as the state constitution and Information Privacy Act. Because of these legal protections afforded to students, a UC staff member is generally prohibited from disclosing certain personal information to any third party without the student's prior consent. This includes members of the Student Support Network, their family, and friends. In light of these laws, we encourage each student to be proactive in communicating program information directly to you, their support network, and authorizing consent for disclosure to any trusted individuals in advance of their travels, wherever they feel it appropriate to do so. Authorization for family members to access student records was recorded during the student's application to UCEAP. If the student did not select to grant access at that time, they may easily update those preferences by emailing us at the address on this slide, privacy@uceap.universityofcalifornia.edu. Our next speaker will be our Associate Dean, Peter Graham. Peter?
Hi there. Thanks everyone for your interest coming to the webinar tonight. Monica, if you could move the slide forward. So I'm going to talk about some academic challenges. So you can think of me as the academic dean, the person who's responsible for your students' grades, requirements, exceptions, and so on. So here's some tips for success. First, UCEAP is education abroad. It's study abroad. It's not travel abroad. You do get to travel abroad and see a number of nice places, see the world. But fundamentally, you're going to school, just like you go to Berkeley to go to school or Riverside to go to school, and not for traveling, so too for study abroad. Secondly, it's important to carry a full course load and abide by all the deadlines. There will be a number of deadlines. They'll be different from your home campus, so be sure to follow all of them and carry a full course load. You still want to graduate on time. Then there's going to be cultural differences in learning and teaching. Different countries, different cultures are going to do things in very different ways. So just because Riverside or Irvine does it one way, doesn't mean that Dublin or Edinburgh is going to do it the same way. Also, understand your academic options through the petition process described in the Guide to Study Abroad. You can scan the QR code there to get a look at it. If things aren't going well, you can petition for exceptions to the requirements, and that's my job to review those with the help of the academic specialists, so be sure to know what your options are. We want you to succeed while you're studying abroad. Okay, Monica, the next slide. Okay, to earn your credit, to earn your course grades, and to graduate on time, be sure to be involved in a lot of planning. So they're the academic advisors on your campus in your major. If you're a psychology major, a computer science major, or a history major, work with your academic advisor to make plans to make sure the courses you take when you study abroad will transfer as credit back towards your major. Then, when you do study abroad, make sure you're still communicating with your academic advisor at home. You'll be communicating with academic specialists through UCEAP to help you get through the program as smoothly as possible, but keep up those communications with your academic advisor at home to plan for your return. Lastly, don't be surprised if you get a grade from another country that's a 70 and that turns out to be a B plus, or if you get a grade from another country that's A, but when it's a University of California grade, it's a B. Different countries are going to grade you in different ways, and we need to translate that into a UC transcript. So that'll be the kind of the last surprise for your cultural difference. Prepare for these differences, plan, and ask for help when you need it.
Hi, everyone. I'm Michelle Cobb. I'm the Director of Global Programming. I just wanted to chat for you guys a little bit about studying abroad and how it is a great way for your student to experience different cultures and they can increase their employability, gain a competitive edge. We also know that there's a lot of questions and preparation before they go abroad, both for you and for your student. Our support network here in California includes program staff who work closely with your student to ensure they have end-to-end support during pre-departure, while abroad, and after they return. By now, UCAP staff have already had some sort of communication with your student as they've shifted from the application phase into the pre-departure preparation phase. We really encourage your student to be the primary communicator when seeking information and asking questions. Your student can find contact information for our staff in a few places, including this About UCAP section of our website, as well as inside their UCAP portal. Your student has a private account in our system called the UCAP portal, which is where they apply to the program and will access a wealth of program, finance, academic, health, and safety information. Sit down at a computer with your student or meet them on a video call so they can walk you through the areas of their portal that are of interest to you. As your student is making their way through the list of pre-departure requirements, there will be times they may say to you, I don't know what I need to do to get housing, or how am I supposed to get a visa? Rather than completing the task for them, please encourage your student to take an active role in preparing for their program. We know they're busy with school, but the best support that you can provide in preparing them to be successful in another country is to give them encouragement and confidence to reach out on their own to get answers to their questions. The pre-departure requirements tab in the UCAP portal is where you can find arrival instructions on how to get to the program location, as well as emergency contact information. Your student will also have access to a minimum of 3 mandatory orientations, one provided by UC campus staff, at least one provided by the UCEAP staff during the pre-departure phase, and at least one abroad when the program begins. Here on the slide is where you can find the program dates and calendar in the UCAP portal. Some calendars are not actually available until closer to the program start. Your student will be notified via email once the calendar is available and if any changes are made. All students are required to arrive by the official program start date. It's important that they review the arrival instructions and the finalized program calendar before booking changeable or refundable travel arrangements. If they arrive early, they will not have support until the official arrival date. So let's talk a little bit about what your student can expect once they are abroad. We know your student is excited about the travel opportunities, learning a new culture, and making new friends. But studying abroad is also about challenges, discomfort, and growth. They're going abroad to experience differences that can sometimes be unsettling, and especially in the beginning. Encourage them to seek out opportunities that may be outside their comfort zone to interact with locals, and to learn more about their new culture. They may encounter living conditions and transportation schedules that are more challenging and less convenient than they're used to on their UC campus. Some problems can be addressed, but others may need students to adapt to what may be considered a normal part of living in their host country. This is part of the experience of living in a foreign country. UCEAP offers a huge variety of programs, and the type of on-site support will vary. In some locations, UCEAP has dedicated staff in country, while in other places, students are supported by staff in the host university international office. On-site staff are the best source of assistance for both routine and urgent matters. If your student is experiencing a problem, such as having no hot water in their apartment, or they're having a conflict with their roommate, encourage them to speak with local staff rather than trying to solve it for them. Having your student take ownership, being flexible and adaptable, and learning to be self-sufficient is key to a successful study abroad experience and provides the foundation for transformational growth. Because you are part of your student's support network, they may share aspects of their experience that are upsetting or frustrating to them. Sometimes this can be interpreted that they're really struggling and in need of immediate assistance, when all they may want is for someone to listen and empathize with them. Other times it is more serious and could be an emergency. Our International Health and Safety Director will cover this later on in the presentation. Wherever they are headed, we look forward to supporting your students during their UCEAP program. Our next speaker will be Michael Marcelli, UCEAP's Director of Finance.
Thank you, Michelle, and good afternoon or good evening, everyone. Hello, students, parents, guardians, and support networks. My name is Michael Marcelli, and I'm the Director of Finance here at UCEAP. At this point in your student's journey, you're likely making plans and anticipating expenses during your study abroad program. I'd like to talk to you a little about how UCEAP calculates our budgets, the structure of our office, and how we work together to support students and ensure you have a seamless financial aid experience as you move from campus to your abroad program and then back to your home UC. Student budgets for UCEAP programs include costs for round-trip airfare, housing, meals and incidentals, local transportation, and any instructional materials, travel insurance, and all UCEAP and local staff services. In order to calculate accurate costs of living, student budgets are researched each year by our experienced global teams programs, liaising and with assistance from our staff based abroad and the host institutions your students will be attending. All of these costs are included in the financial aid calculations done by the campus. Our website contains the student budgets and costs for all programs for summer, fall, and academic year programs. The screen example above is for Carlos III, our partner at the University of Madrid, for a fall example budget for a UCLA student, listing the unique campus fees that a UCLA student would pay while attending on our program. Financial aid at UCEAP is similar to a normal term at a student's home UC campus and follows the same deadline schedule for financial aid application. Typically, all aid currently available to your student at their home UC is transferable to us during their participation in a UCEAP program, including any grants and scholarships. Aid is transferred to UCEAP prior to the program start date. Students and guardians do not need to do anything to get aid to transfer. This is an automatic process that UCEAP works with the student's home campus. When you do log in to make payments, please be aware that UCEAP does use a third-party payment processor called Transact, and it'll allow you to pay your online EAPs via the portal. Students are able to invite parents and guardians to use Transact to make payments on their behalf if they wish. Credit cards, debit cards, and e-check payments are available online. You may also send payments via check to our system-wide office in Goleta, and I'll put that into the chat. Finance team holds regular office hours for any students or parents with any questions. On the top right of the slide, you will see a QR code that will direct you to the scheduling page. If there's any specific questions that we can help you with, you can scan the QR code on the screen and a list of the countries that UCEAP participates in programs will appear. and you can select from the finance account assigned to that country. Thank you for your attention. And now let me turn it over to Julie Pollard, our Director of International Health, Safety, and Crisis Management.
Thank you, Michael. Safety is a partnership here at UCEAP. It is a shared responsibility that requires students to be well-informed and active participants in their own well-being. Our department collectively has decades worth of experience supporting student safety. We provide tools, resources, and guidance on how to remain reasonably healthy and safe while abroad, and provide emergency support when things go wrong. I'd like to discuss supporting your student, understanding what health and safety resources students have access to, and how to utilize these resources. All resources that will be described here today are available to all UCEAP program participants and are detailed in the student portal. On your screen, you see the UCEAP portal with red arrows pointed to insurance and health and safety. UCEAP prioritizes health and safety and works to provide the best resources to holistically manage well-being while studying abroad. We encourage students to review this section of the portal with their support network. In preparation for study abroad, all students must obtain a health clearance. Health clearance is an important and required component. If you have not started this process, the instructions are in the UCEAP portal under pre-departure requirements. First, students must complete a confidential health history form. This form is only shared with a doctor or medical practitioner. It is not submitted to UCEAP. This form is meant to help guide conversations about program participation with a medical professional. The instructions may differ based on UC campus, but this slide shows the overall process along with some suggestions. It is important to be honest about any conditions or concerns regarding wellness while studying abroad. For example, consider if the program has any requirements such as physical activity, or if the program location requires significantly more physical activity than your student may be used to in daily life. Prescribed medication should also be researched for legality and availability in the program country. If specific conditions necessitate seeing a medical specialist, such as a psychiatrist, it is important to discuss a treatment plan and what is needed in order to be successful in the program. Please encourage your student to be mindful of deadlines for this important process. All students are required to complete the UCEAP Health and Safety course. This course will take about an hour. This slide provides an overview of the learning outcomes. It was developed by University of California experts and includes essential and helpful information to better prepare. The first 4 sections of this course cover health and safety topics that benefit all students studying in all locations. The course may require a 5th country-specific section depending on program location. The University of California partners with several organizations to support students. LYRA is our virtual mental health provider. Crisis 24 is our risk management partner helping the UC operate globally. Chubb is our insurance provider for the UC travel policy, and AXA is our travel assistance provider of this policy. In the next slides, we will explore what each organization is, what they provide, and how their services can be utilized. LYRA is different from other mental health services. It uses a combination of counselors, clinicians, technology, and research-backed therapies to develop a personalized treatment plan. LYRA offers in-person, virtual, or phone sessions, as well as a DIY approach through LYRA's online library of videos, articles, strategies, and meditations. LYRA allows students to participate in up to 20 mental health counseling sessions for no additional fee. This is different from the travel insurance program, where services are paid up front and then reimbursed is requested by submitting a claim. For LYRA, no paperwork and no fees are required. Simply sign up and attend. Coverage begins on arrival day in the program country. The QR code takes you to the sign-up page. Crisis 24 provides intelligence-driven, world-class risk, advice, and alerts, innovative technology, and security evacuation services. All students are automatically enrolled to receive travel alerts for their program country and city. These alerts keep students informed of any events that may impact daily life. It is important to read them and consider the advice provided. The Crisis 24 app allows students to research any location and obtain global travel tips. A personal profile can be created where alert notifications are customized. This is helpful when planning personal travel to other countries and cities. For example, while on a personal trip to London, you are alerted to a protest happening near a museum you intended to visit. Having this information allows you to reconsider your plan and be properly informed about what is happening. We recommend registering personal travel to continue receiving alerts. The Crisis 24 app, which students have the option to download after acceptance into a UCEAP program, makes this process very easy. The top right code directs you to an Office of the President website that describes our relationship with Crisis 24. As a UCEAP program participant, students are automatically enrolled in the Student Travel Insurance Policy designed by Chubb for the University of California. The plan provides medical and non-medical benefits. Student travel insurance serves as the primary medical coverage while abroad, but it is not the same as health insurance in the US. If a student is enrolled in UCShip while on campus, they will continue that enrollment while on a UCEAP program. Costs for medical care must be paid out of pocket and are then reimbursable according to the policy details. Some benefits include zero deductible, zero copay, prescription drug benefits, mental health counseling and emergency remote behavioral health consults, medical and security evacuations, and continued treatment for pre-existing covered conditions. AXA is the travel assistance provider, and UCEAP students have access to their portal called Travel Eye, where extensive information regarding health risks while traveling or finding care in a specific city. AXA can help connect the student with specific medical care abroad, evacuate in the event of a serious medical emergency, and provide global health teleconsultation through their app called Dr. Please. If a student has a more complex medical case that might require specialist treatment while they are abroad, AXA's continuity of care planning can assist in organizing the support needed before leaving the United States. We know that insurance is a complex topic, and therefore we provide extensive information on the UCEAP website, including the insurance policy brochure and in the UCEAP portal. We also have a specific staff member in the Health, Safety, and Crisis Management team dedicated to insurance issues and questions. Use the QR code on the slide to access this section of our website. During a crisis in a program location, UCEAP will issue a welfare check. This means that a student will receive an email and a text from our emergency communication system asking for them to check in. The Health, Safety, and Crisis Management Department conducts a welfare check drill for all students in all programs to familiarize them with this tool and process in the event of an actual emergency. This drill typically occurs in the beginning of the program, and it is online. Responding to the welfare check drill is a requirement stated in the UCEAP participation agreement. That agreement is also available in the student portal. Not responding to a welfare check drill or a welfare check will result in a disciplinary warning. Students must update their contact information in the portal to ensure we can reach them during a crisis. If a student is traveling outside their program city, they are required to complete a travel sign-out in the portal as well. UCEAP operates an emergency phone line that is answered every day, all night. Calls are answered by an emergency service and then directed to myself or a member of my department or senior leadership, such as Michelle, who previously spoke. Our emergency responders are trained and tested in dealing with all types of emergencies. The website listed on this slide is in an emergency webpage, which defines an emergency and details how to report incidents. Students also have access to local support, and that information is available in the UCEAP portal and the program guide. As a final reminder, remember that UCEAP's website and student portal are filled with resources and information that students should be reading. Using these resources proactively rather than reactively will help maintain wellness while abroad and cultivate understanding of risks. And last, but certainly not least, please reach out and ask for help before a situation becomes more serious. Wellness is truly a partnership, and together our goal is for students to have a safe and successful academic experience abroad. We'll now begin the Q&A session. So I know we have a number of questions that were already submitted. We'll try to get to as many as we can. I'd like to introduce Associate Program Director Zach Frieders to moderate. Zach, please get us started.
All right, thanks, Julie, and thanks to all of our presenters this evening. In the time that we have remaining, I'll be asking our panelists to answer as many questions as we can get to. Our staff will also continue to answer some of the questions directly in the Zoom Q&A. If we can't get to your question, please do feel free to email us at the address on the slide. Looks like it just went down, but we'll get that back up again. Especially for any program specific, detailed program specific questions or questions that you might have about an individual student issue. That email address is really the right place to get those questions answered. So right now I want to offer up a few more general overarching questions that came up in the Q&A that might be helpful for all of our attendees to hear. So first up, Michelle, there's a question a couple folks are asking how students can get connected with others in the UCEAP program before they leave and or when they arrive.
Yes, I try to answer one of those, and Monica, I'm going to have you answer some of it as well. But basically, we don't share information of other students, so to maintain privacy. However, some UC campuses do connect students from their same campus, and I know there's some that use some other group me chats or other things. Monica, would you like to answer that since you get a lot of those questions from students?
Sure. I would say the best place for students to interact with not only students in their program, but also students who may be currently abroad or past students who could have advice for them is the UCEAP Discord. From any page on our website, if you go to the footer down below, you'll have links to our social media, including a link to that Discord.
Okay, great. Peter, I've got a couple questions related to academics. So the first is any tips or resources for students to learn about the cultural differences in teaching and learning at our host institutions?
Yeah, a lot of the differences our study center specialists are going to know they'll know inside and out. And so it's helpful that once you're abroad to take advantage of the support from the study center, the UC Study Center staff, or even asking if you're at an institution where there isn't UC Study Center support to ask the international office at the partner institution about some of the differences. Some of them are going to be like the way you interact with faculty. You know, you sort of learn how to interact with UC faculty, and then you might find out that you're in Spain and faculty just interact with students in a very different way. Or maybe you haven't been able to finish some work on time. Maybe you were sick for a day or two and you're used to a UC faculty member saying, oh, that's okay, you can turn it in a day late. In some countries, just non-negotiable, you can't turn it in late. So questions like that are things you want to ask sort of up front and ask other students who are in the program. What sort of differences have they learned? What struggles have they faced? And that's just a part of the learning how different cultures work. So that's kind of a benefit of studying abroad. I should add that when you are at a place, especially with a study center, you're going to meet all the other UC students. You could come from Irvine and then you'll make a best friend for life from San Diego that you met on the first kind of trip that all the UC students took together through the study center. So that's a great way to meet students too.
Peter, I might add too, like I've noticed some students recently talking in one location that it's a little different because in many of the European cultures, they have one exam. Sometimes they might have a midterm. So it's harder in some sense for UC students who are more accustomed to the more strict syllabi.
Yeah, that's a huge difference. Many students are surprised. If you watched Harry Potter, you know that all of the exams, the owls, they're at the very end. They all sit together for a whole week and they haven't had exams throughout the year. Whereas a UC class, there's not only a midterm, but there may be quizzes, lots of sorts of feedback. So in order to know how you're doing through a class, it's helpful just to get with your peers, either if they're UC peers, and do some practice exams that you set for yourself. And that way you'll know how you're doing and you'll be less stressed out when it comes to the finals that happen at the end of the term.
And I would reiterate too that there are a lot of services on the host university campuses, just like they are at UCs. They may vary or they may be very different, but some have specific supports about how to learn and succeed in that particular host university. So definitely encourage your student to seek them out and ask if there's UC study centers there. They'll be able to give you that information. And if not, just encourage them to go into the international office.
Great, thank you. Julie, I've got two questions for you. One is a request for folks to, from folks to talk a little bit more about the travel sign out system when they travel on location. And the second question, I'll just put them both here, is that if EAP recommends any additional action students to take legal documents such as power of attorney that go beyond the required documents of UCEAP, any suggestions in that space?
Sure. So for travel signouts, it's quite simple. It's again in the UCEAP portal. Probably no surprise by now. How many times have we said UCEAP portal? There's a travel signout section. We ask students to tell us where they're going, when they are going, when they are coming back, where they're staying. There's a space as well to acknowledge if they're traveling with any other students in the program. We ask students to do this anytime they leave their program city for more than 24 hours. And there are a lot of very good recent examples. There was a 7.4 earthquake in Taiwan a few weeks ago. It was very important for us to know who was in Taiwan, who was not in Taiwan. Were there any travelers in Australia who happened to travel to Taiwan for a holiday break? There's a number of things that could occur when students are traveling, and it is very important that we know where they are so that we can communicate with them appropriately. If we don't know they are in a location, we don't know to check in with them. And the second question, what was the second question?
It was whether EAP recommends any additional
additional
action.
documents.
Yeah.
So power of attorney is a little bit of a challenging situation in other countries. Not all countries will acknowledge a power of attorney when someone is a legal adult. There is a process that you can go through the US State Department in which you require an apostille to a power of attorney document that in theory would be accepted by foreign governments and foreign entities. There have been a number of situations where this has been accepted and where it has not been accepted. So it's certainly up to you if you would like to pursue that. What I can tell you is that if there was a hospitalization, the UC travel insurance policy allows for 2 support people to travel to be with a student if they are hospitalized for more than 24 hours. We have done this on a number of occasions. It covers the cost of the airfare. They book the ticket for you to go there. It provides up to $5,000 per support person to travel to the location. So that's hotel expenses, transportation expenses, food costs while you are with your student. We also have a very strong history of being able to medevac students if the situation needs that. So that means that we would work to send your student home, usually within 72 hours. So keep those things in mind as well. The immediate travel where you can go to the location, or the immediate organization of the student being transferred back to the US.
Great, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
The next
I also
question...
did see, Zach, I did see a few questions here about the insurance. It is an automatic enrollment. Your students do not have to do anything. It is included in the UCEAP program fee, and enrollment is automatic, and it is not optional. Travel insurance is required for all participants.
Okay. Michael, there was a couple questions here. I'm not sure if they got answered. Whether UCEAP costs are covered by GI Bill or VA benefits. I know that campus offices can provide some guidance on this, but I'm wondering if you have any thoughts that you want to share on that.
Yes, thank you for those questions. And thank you all for these great questions to help us make our presentation better going forward. Yes, we work with the county offices to assess CalVet eligibility. Some offices are very timely and are quick to turn things around. Some do have a workload issue and constraints. So if your student is eligible for that domestically, they will also want our program abroad. So please email us at studentfinance@ucap.universityofcalifornia.edu, and we can work with your county office as well as your student's home UC.
Great, thank you. Monica, Michelle, I'm going to merge a couple here into a general theme, which is that there's a couple questions. So for example, between the official start date of EAP and when classes begin, there's a period of time where students need to be on site. There's going to be holiday closures at the host institutions, spring breaks, that types of things. There's some questions around what is happening during the time, for example, between the official start date when classes begin, and guidance that students should have if their institution is closed during their time abroad.
Yeah, typically there's a reason why the arrival date is before classes start. It may vary by program, and some might have a more condensed schedule than others. But typically during that time, right when you arrive, you're going to be attending orientations, mandatory orientations and program activities. There may also be academic webinars, academic registration happening. There could be some social activities to interact with local students, maybe a buddy program where you'll be paired up with a local student. And there could also be some group activities for UC students, such as trips or tours of the city to help you get settled in. I will mention that, you know, we plan the arrival date with time for you to settle in for classes. So some students will look at that program calendar and see that arrival date and think, oh, I should arrive a few days or a week ahead of time to settle in. You know, we don't expect you to arrive prior to that date. Your budget will not begin before that date. A lot of things won't start before that arrival date. So, you know, if you don't feel like you can afford the time or the cost to arrive before that arrival date, please don't feel pressured to do so.
Yeah, I might just add to the other reason why we recommend the particular date is that a lot of universities actually are on holiday until right before. So people might not even be at the universities until just before they arrive, or they're working with other students. Sometimes if you end up arriving too soon, the students, I think, tend to feel a little lost and don't have the direction they have and have the information available, like Monica was just sharing, the activities, the orientations, the details like that. So.
Great. Peter, I'm going to go back to you on a couple questions emerging together about course selection and grades. And so generally, it's if there's any advice that you have on course selection, and some of the questions here are talking about, you know, looking at UCEAP courses, understanding what's available at the host institution, and then working with their UC campus advisor on major and minor requirements. So that's one sort of umbrella. And then sort of related to that is if there's any way to think about or matrix to help students understand how grades abroad are translated to UC grades.
Yeah, so I can answer the second question quickly. Once your student's abroad and they go through the orientation before the classes start, so that'll be the orientation provided in most cases by UC Study Center staff, or it'll be done partly through a UC academic specialist. The students will be given the grade conversion chart. They'll have it. They'll know exactly what, like a 90, if they're studying in the Netherlands, what grade, what letter grade that will be for University of California. So they'll know all of that in advance. It's transparent. It just differs country by country. But for the first question is the harder question. Like, how do you know for sure that you're going to be able to get credit in your major for a class that's taken abroad? So in some cases, that's pretty straightforward, that your major department will have already given articulation. They've already said that that course in that country counts towards a requirement in the major at your institution, if it's, you know, Berkeley or Riverside or Irvine. But many times that information is just not available, right? We don't know what class you're enrolling in until you enroll in it. We don't have the syllabus yet. Your home campus doesn't have that syllabus, so they don't actually know what class you've taken. And so that's why it's important to plan with your academic advisor about the types of, at your home campus, about the types of classes you're thinking of taking. And then once you start taking a class, to share that information with your academic advisor, someone in the department still has to decide that that counts towards a University of California class in that particular major. So that's the challenge, and that's why communication is so important. Now, there is one resource, it's the Course Credit Abroad database that you'll find on the UCEAP portal that lists classes that have been given credit in the past in your major. So if you are a Davis student and you're majoring in economics, you can go to this website, the Course Credit Abroad database, and you can look up Davis, click in economics, and then find the classes around the world that the economics department has given credit for in the past, which is a good sign that they're going to give credit for it in the future. So those are the resources. Work with your academic advisor closely. Try to find the information that's available for classes abroad that you've gotten credit for in that department in the past, so you have a higher confidence that you'll get credit for it in your major. For the most part, this problem is sort of well navigated by every student studying abroad, but there are still those challenges where sometimes the class is not given credit for the major, though you do get credit, you do get UC credit towards graduation.
Okay. Great. I'm not sure if this is a question for Thomas or really anyone. I saw a couple that folks were asking about how they could share their access to the UCEAP portal with parents and family members to look at things like billing and the actual application process itself.
I could actually take that. So there are many documents that we have students sign and agree to in the UCEAP portal. So in order for us to know that that was the student that signed it, we do prefer that students don't share their login information with anyone, but they can sit down with you and if you're together and at a computer and walk through the portal with you, or you can hop on maybe a Zoom call and share screen and walk you through that way virtually. There are also a lot of public links within the portal. So for instance, if they saw in the portal some insurance information or information about how to get a visa, they should be able to share those links with you without you having to go into the portal.
Okay, great. Being mindful of time, I'm going to take one last group of questions. And this is just going to open this up to everyone because there's a lot of questions here about how to navigate international travel, managing layovers, traveling with others. And I know that we provide a lot of specific information in the pre-departure process for our students, but just any quick final thoughts from folks on either informal or formal resources for students and their families looking to kind of navigate this international travel process.
Sure. We do recommend that your student be aware of ahead of time before they depart what type of currency differentials or kind of processing fees that may be applicable on your debit card or credit card. These tend to change throughout time, so we recommend you do some research or talk to your home credit union or bank to see if they have a card that might be work for your student, or when you travel to meet them while participating on a UCAP program. We have found that students have extreme difficulty in trying to open up a bank account while during their limited time abroad. So we do not recommend spending too much time trying to achieve something that will only be available for a very short period of time. But any specific questions, we're happy to help you with at studentfinance@ucap.universityofcalifornia.edu.
Great, thanks, Michael. We're at time here. So I just want to thank all of our student, family, and support network participants for joining us today and for taking the time to ask so many great and thoughtful questions. And I apologize, I know we weren't able to get to all of them, but we do urge you to email the questions that we didn't get to, or ones that you think of after this webinar, to the email address here on the screen, info@uceap.universityofcalifornia.edu, and we'll get an answer to you as soon as possible, especially those really specific questions about particular programs or your own individual student concerns. So we hope that you found this webinar to be useful. And again, please feel free to reach out to us. Thanks again for joining us, and have a wonderful evening, everyone.